Let's find out what really is going on and why this was the, well, they might have given us a reason, but maybe there might be a lot of backstory to this one. Margaret?
Thank you, Chamberlain. We have with us in our studios this morning Professor Biodun Ogunyemi, who is the president of Asuu. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Good morning. Now, a number of people will say they saw this coming, that when the IPPIS has an integrated payroll system, I don't know the full name of the acronym now, it's quite long, but I know integrated is there and it's about payrolls. When it was introduced, Asuu kicked vehemently against this. You have been up in arms with the federal government over IPIS, is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
And so for a number of people, they already felt that this strike was in the offing. So to add a number of other issues to it, is just to show it up with something else. The real issue, the bone of contention, is IPIS. Do you agree?
No, I don't. In fact, IPIS came on the plate as a distraction. There were issues we were tracking before we got to IPIS. IPIS debate probably started July 2019. Before then, you recall that in February, on February 7 specifically, 2019, we signed a memorandum of action with the federal government. And we had on that memorandum about 7 items which we were tracking. And the difference between memorandum of understanding and memorandum of action is that every item has a timeline. You have to do this within this period, and this is to be monitored by this. So roles were assigned, timelines were attached to items on that memorandum. So those were the things we were tracking. And suddenly the IPPIS matter came into it, and it almost took away attention from the main issues. I recall that there was an action that started November 2018, which was suspended to February 2019. And the outcome of that engagement that went on then was that memorandum. Government was not implementing the memorandum. So when IPPIS came on board, IPPIS was also resurfacing after going away for about 4 or 5 years. The matter about IPPIS first came up 2013, and we kicked, and we told them that it will not work. We wrote to them. They said we should set up a joint team. We forwarded our team members, and we thought that they were going to respond. They didn't respond, and we thought they had agreed with our position. So when we didn't hear from them for about 4 years, we thought the ghost of IPPIS had been laid to rest. But when it came back, we thought, what kind of distraction? Nevertheless, we still went into discussion with them. We restated our position. IPPIS is never practiced in any university system, the world over. The closest we have is in Ghana. They tried it in Ghana, and they discovered that it will not work because IPPIS will shut the door against foreign scholars, diaspora scholars, who could come to enrich and give international flavors to our programs. And with that kind of intervention, our universities will remain localized. And people say we are not feasible in global ranking. How can we achieve that? So we also found that IPPIS will take us back to the mainstream of civil service. There's no university in the world where universities are part of the civil service. Because now they are telling us we are not going to take workers who are not on pensionable appointment. So universities should go and look inwards and generate funds to pay their salaries. What that means to us is that they are telling universities to go and introduce fees. You want to talk of fees in a state like Borno, in a state like Zamfara. And when we want them to the implication of this, they will not just listen. And we said, look, there is an alternative to IPIS, and we can give you a proposal towards this. In other countries, what responsive governments do is to throw challenges to universities. Well, and we took up the challenge on our own, and we are coming up with a program, and they were bent on truncating it.
You have said that this is not about IPIS, that this is not largely about IPIS.
It's not likely, but IPIS came into it, and IPIS
a number of people will disagree with you, but that is, you have detailed a number of other things. Now, we do know that there was a big strike in 2013, which saw universities shut for a really long time, almost a year or so. And then after that, there have been negotiations. The federal government has had to yield ground. And as a result, we know that what was agreed was that I think there will be like a yearly implementation of some of the things that were agreed.
Yes.
In 2018 or so, about 20 billion naira was released as part of that agreement. Isn't that correct? In 2019, another 25 billion was released as part of that agreement. Isn't that correct? I understand that it was being shared amongst universities. So if there was already some commitment on the part of the federal government, why are we now seeing a strike in 2020 if this is not really largely about IPs?
Markwe, tokenism will not help our universities. Today, the world is talking about coronavirus we call COVID-19. When that epidemic started in China, they didn't go back to pick on graduates of primary and secondary school. They went into their universities. And that was why they could respond effectively, and they could construct structures that could accommodate suspect of the virus. I mean, those who are suspected to have the virus. In no time, in days, you could see high-rising structures to take care of the medical challenges. Those are products of investment in education. Tokenism will not help our universities. What are we talking about here? In 2013 that you referred to, government agreed that there will be massive injection of funding to the system to the tune of 1.3 trillion. And this will be spread over 6 years, starting with 200 billion in 2013. And for 5 subsequent years, there will be intervention of 220 billion each year. To date, all the university system has gotten is 220 billion. Remove that from 1.3 trillion. We are far, far away. And come back to the budgetary allocation, which could even help to salvage the situation. We have continued to slide in terms of what we allocate to education. The maximum we got some 10 years back was about 11%. This year, we have less than 7%. That is not how to fix country's education. I was talking about Ghana earlier. In 2014, Asuu commissioned a team to visit universities in Ghana. And we found that more than 60% of their income in tertiary education funding came from Nigerian students who were there to pay tuition fees. And what happened in Ghana? There was a time the Ghanaian system had to shut down. They had to shut down the system in order to address the problem. If that is what we need, you know what Shoyinka once proposed it, that let's cool down our universities for 1-2 years until we have solutions to their problems. Maybe we are heading towards that direction. If we are talking of 1.3 trillion, and that amount just did not appear from the blues, there was a needs assessment investigation conducted in 2012. And 78 universities were visited. And we assessed and documented the level of rot and decay in the system. Those things were captured in a report. And that was how the federal government arrived at that amount. Why should government renege? So we've been tracking all of these. We've been tracking the issue of even visitation. People will say there is corruption in the universities. We have been calling for visitation. The last time federal universities were visited in Nigeria was 10 years ago, 2011. And now, people will turn around to say universities are corrupt when you are not doing what you are expected to do. You are expected to monitor what goes on in the system at least once in 5 years.
Given, you have said that one of the reasons why the introduction of IPs will not work is that it will deprive universities of having foreign scholars and things of those, and people of, you know, foreign scholars largely, and you might not be able to afford to pay them if, you know, IPs is introduced. There are people who will also say that, what about the internally generated funds of universities, which are largely unaccounted for?
No.
How would you defend that?
No, Markwe, that is not correct. With the introduction of TSA, there's no cover that comes into the university that the government does not know about. I mean, you are sure TSA is being implemented. And so for government to say we don't know how they spend the money, we don't know what comes in, it's hypocrisy. It's not correct.
You are saying that all the monies that is being internally generated by universities go into the TSA?
Yes. And when we fought against TSA, what we were saying was that government should not tamper with monies meant for research. Money grants, research grants, because they are not for running the universities. And when you talk of internally generated revenue, it's a corruption of language. We don't, what are we generating? We are talking of selling of pure water or what? That is not the primary purpose of universities. Universities are supposed to be centers of invention and creativity. Now, we have not upgraded our facilities that will attract cutting-edge research in terms of investment in equipment and facilities. And until we get there, that is what can give us patents. You see, when people talk about entrepreneurship now, it's a corrupt form of what is called entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is supposed to be product of your research. You have to market your research. There are 4 levels. In research, you come out with publication. You come out with a solution. You come out with, of course, products that can be marketed. But we don't have those facilities, particularly in science-related fields. And that is where the challenge is. So, to talk of IGR, I said it's a corrupt form of IGR that we have here. We are talking of, now, go and find out. I'm sure when you went to university, nobody was asking you to come and pay 60,000 for being admitted to University of Lagos. I think I'm privileged to know that. I'm sure nobody asked you to pay. But today, go to Unilag, go to other universities. To accept that you have been admitted to university, you have to pay 40, 50, 60,000.
You know, I don't even want to talk about my experience when I was admitted into school, because some people would say it's all hypocrisy. That yes, indeed, tuition fees might be low, but we know that running costs for a lot of students was prohibitive. So for instance, yes, you might be not asked to pay any tuition fee, very little tuition fee, but when it comes to accommodation, we know that what happens on the black markets for accommodation in schools like Unilag and a number of other places then was something that eventually the university system had to intervene and say, look, we couldn't go on like this. Isn't that correct?
Well, that is not something that is endorsed officially.
It might not be endorsed officially, but if this capacity is there on the part of students, if the need is there for accommodation and students are willing to pay that much on the black market, shouldn't universities be finding a way? You just talked about Nigerian students in Ghana contributing about 60% of the revenue to universities in Ghana. If there is a capacity of Nigerians to pay tuition fees, shouldn't we find a way to ensure that we protect the vulnerable and those who are able and willing to pay fees pay to support the system?
Okay. The thing should be the other way around. It should be the other way around. What committed leaders do is to invest in their education, to bring it up to the standard that they can attract foreign students. In China, in France, in Germany, students don't pay a kobo. But they have raised the level and standard of their system to the point that foreign students pay in some systems. Even in Germany, no foreign student pays a kobo. So you can see the level of development.
The profile of Germany and Nigeria are quite different, isn't that correct?
Yes, but they took time to invest in education.
Isn't that correct?
They took time to invest in education. That's the point we are making.
The point we're also trying to make is that the standards that were there when people like you went to Nigerian universities is definitely not what is obtainable, and our standards dropped for a reason. If we are now at this level and we do not have the funds right now to invest into our university from what we see of our revenue profile, shouldn't we be more creative or find ways around it?
And what kind of creativity? The solution is still the same. It's about chicken and egg. Which one comes first? You see, you blame lecturers for the problems. I mean, when they go on strike. But you don't trace it back to the root of the crisis. The root of the crisis, really, is that we reach an understanding that in order to fix our universities and raise it to a standard that we can even attract students from abroad, we need X amount. Government jettisoning that. Let me give you the example that is happening now, that is most current. There's nothing people in the health ministry will ask for that government will not give them. It is because we're in a crisis. We don't realize that our education is in crisis. We should declare a state of emergency. And that was why we called for it when we met President Buhari, January 9.
Do you think that the constant strikes also help in any way?
No, you know, what you call constant strike is to draw the attention of the public to the crisis. Look, Nigerians are not lending their voices to the problems in the education sector. Government has killed public primary. Government has killed public secondary. If we allow government to kill public tertiary, particularly university system, Nigeria is doomed. Nigeria is doomed because that is the catalyst for our development. We have no other solution.
Well, I wish that we could go on and on with this conversation, but we have to thank you this morning for not shying away from coming to defend the position of Asuu.
No, if academics don't defend universities, who will defend universities?
Big question. So thank you so much for coming on. Professor Biodun Ogunyemi is the president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. Sunrise Daily will continue in a moment. Please stay with us.